Welcome to our explainer on Gordon Corman's Island, Book 1, Shipwreck. We're going to break down the very beginning of this story about 6 troubled teens, 1 boat, and a whole lot of ocean. Okay, let's just dive right in. So, the book doesn't start off nice and easy, with a calm morning at the dock. No, instead, it throws us right into the middle of a life or death crisis at sea. It's what we call a flash forward, a little sneak peek of the disaster that's coming. Can you even imagine being on this boat, the Phoenix, as it's getting tossed around by this insane storm? The waves are so huge, they're lifting the entire 30-foot boat straight up into the air. This is exactly where their journey is heading, straight into total chaos. On board, it's just pure pandemonium. Someone makes a desperate run for the halyard. That's the rope for the sail, but it turns out to be a massive mistake. The mainsail starts to rise, catches the wind, and it just spins the ship around violently. A giant wave just crashes over the deck, and in all that chaos, a body gets washed right into the water. The storm is so loud, any scream is completely swallowed up by the wind. So how in the world did a bunch of teenagers end up here? Well, to understand that, we have to rewind. To answer that question, we're going back 6 days before the storm, all the way to Guam. This is where the story really gets started, with the arrival of the very first passenger. Meet Luke Haggerty. Now, he's just flown for 21 hours, halfway around the world. And let me tell you, he has not been sent here for a vacation. He's literally been sentenced to this boat for the next month. Luke is only 13 years old, but he's already had a pretty serious run-in with the law. He isn't a bad kid, not really, but he made a mistake that landed him in this program for at-risk youth. So here's the deal. Luke is on the Phoenix as part of a program called Charting a New Course, or CNC for short. It's basically an alternative to a juvenile detention center. He was found guilty of felony possession of a firearm, and this boat, this is his consequence. Luke is completely out of his element. I mean, he's stuck on this cramped boat where he doesn't even know the language. He finds out pretty quick that everything has a different name. This list just perfectly shows his confusion and isolation. As you can see, the kitchen is a galley, the bathroom is a head. Luke has basically been dropped into a totally new world with its own language and its own rules. But he's not alone for long. In his tiny cabin, he meets his new roommate, Will Greenfield, and he discovers pretty fast that he's not the only one here with issues. So the first crew members he meets are Will and his sister, Lisa. Will is just completely convinced this trip is a death sentence. Lisa, on the other hand, is weirdly cheerful and fascinated by everything, including Luke's criminal record. They absolutely can't stand each other, and the bickering is nonstop. The man in charge is Captain Cascadon. He's over 60, with this rugged, leathery face that looks like it's been, and I quote, rubbed against every coral reef in the 7 seas. He's a man of few words, and he definitely commands respect. So the captain gives them their one and only rule. He says he doesn't care who they were or what they did before they stepped on his boat. On the Phoenix, the past is just wiped clean. All that matters now is that they work together as a single crew. So, as Luke, Will, and Lisa are swabbing the deck, the first mate, a guy named Mr. Radford, comes back from the airport with 2 more members of their crew. And they look just as out of place as everyone else. And here we meet our next 2 passengers. You can almost get a feel for their personalities just from these descriptions, right? Charla is quiet, observant, almost like a ghost. Ian, on the other hand, already looks miserable and like he's going through withdrawal from his tech. Yeah, Ian learns the hard way that technology is not part of this adventure. Mr. Radford, who's this tough but fair first mate, just takes his laptop. The captain says the only internet they've got out here is teamwork. Just when they think the crew is all there, another passenger shows up. And boy, does this one make an entrance. A private Learjet lands, and out steps J.J. Lane, the son of a world-famous movie star. J.J. is a total Hollywood brat. He's furious, he's entitled, and he's used to getting whatever he wants. But his dad's personal assistant is under strict orders. He hands JJ a duffel bag, tells him his credit cards and cell service are canceled, and just leaves him stranded. So, now that this full, pretty dysfunctional crew is finally all together, the real journey can begin. And for the very first time, they actually have to work together. Following Mr. Radford's commands, Luke, Charla, and Lisa untie the lines and push the heavy boat away from the dock. It's their first real act as a crew. As a boat moves out of the harbor and into the open sea, even Luke feels the sense of majesty, of possibility. It's a feeling he'd never get in a detention center. For just a moment, it really does feel like an adventure is about to start. And that brings us right back to where we started. We've met our crew of misfits, and every single one of them has their own baggage. We know there's a terrifying storm waiting for them out on the water. The real question is, can this group of strangers learn to survive each other long enough to survive the storm?